Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be covering NBA teams that might blow up their rosters this offseason. Part of this has to do with just, over time, it's getting a little stale. They're not able to advance further than they've been able to. Then there's other teams that might just blow it up for the sake of, really maybe this isn't going anywhere. So if you are new to the channel and like NBA content, this is the place to subscribe. So make sure you hit that subscribe button before we jump in here. Now, looking at the first team, this is a team that has a lot of attention, really, a lot of media attention on them in terms of their shortcomings. Now, we look at the Utah Jazz as an organization that has been a model of consistency in terms of making it to the postseason after great regular season after another. Now, they've had a lot of regular season success. I think that's pretty clear and obvious when you look at what Quinn Snyder has done as the head coach of the Utah Jazz, but at the same time, they just haven't been able to get where they feel they should be able to. You obviously have a star in Donovan Mitchell and another star in Rudy Gobert, a collection of nice role players, like Bojan Bogdanovic, Mike Conley, Royce O'Neal. There's a lot of different guys that contribute to the success of this team, and they have for the last couple of seasons. But now you look at another disappointing postseason exit from the Utah Jazz, where losing in a series against the Dallas Mavericks was very, very tough for them to swallow. And part of the issue is people are looking at this from the lens of, does Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, are they enough to really advance? And I think that Utah has kind of grown frustrated with the pairing of these two stars. And I think that at the end of the day, they will be considering blowing up this roster to a degree. Now, I think the big part of it is going to be Rudy Gobert being traded. To me, that makes the most sense in terms of, where they're probably heading. Now, is this something I would necessarily do myself? I don't know. I think I'd maybe reconstruct the roster around them, maybe change up a couple of things. However, I think they're looking more and pointing more towards Rudy Gobert as the biggest issue, I guess. He does have his limits offensively, but by no stretch of the imagination is he not a star player. I mean, when you look at his impact defensively, what he can do, especially as a true rim protector, a guy that can switch out into space, he is just that guy. He is so good, as a defender. Mainly his interior defense is where he really shines as a player. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to choose Donovan Mitchell between the two of them. There's been tension in the past, and this kind of all started during the pandemic with the whole Rudy Gobert thing. And then that kind of snowballed. And I feel like it hit its, boiling point this season with Rudy Gobert, them losing again in disappointing fashion. If we remember back when they lost their series against the Clippers, that was a series where Kawhi Leonard tore his ACL mid-series, and they still ended up losing to just a Paul George-led Clippers, which I feel that they felt that they had that series under control. I really felt that was kind of the pathway for them. They thought, they should be able to get by the injured Clippers then and should be able to advance to eventually play the Phoenix Suns, but that did not happen. So a lot of the blame tends to go on Rudy Gobert. Not all of it's warranted. I can't say that for certainty. However, are they going to, maybe they're going to look to move Bogdanovic, maybe they look to move Conley. I'm not exactly sure what the correct formula is for this team. Especially when you're starting by moving Rudy Gobert, maybe just package up a lot of different assets and try to trade for another star to pair with Donovan Mitchell. I think that is definitely a realistic possibility for them as well. Maybe they try to facilitate a 3-team deal to get the assets that they're looking for Rudy Gobert. So this is a team that very well could blow it up this offseason. A lot of growing frustration after a lot of playoff success, regular season success that hasn't necessarily led to that postseason success that they were looking for this franchise. Obviously, they have a lot of expectations when you have the primes of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but at the end of the day, it doesn't always work out that way. Now I look at the New York Knicks as another team that's coming off of a lot of disappointment this year. Especially a lot of people point to Julius Randle. His points per game, I believe, dropped off by 4 whole points per game. His 3-point percentage, I believe, dropped by 11%. That is something that you have to keep in mind when evaluating Julius Randle. Is I think last year he was so good, and then this season here definitely had a little bit of a drop off, and I think that when you look at this Knicks roster, they're not really ready to contend in this Eastern Conference. I think there's going to be a lot of shakeups, in my opinion. When you look at where this team currently stands, where does Kemba Walker fit into the picture? Evan Fournier, I feel like they're coming to that realization that, the Evan Fournier signing was definitely not the right move. And you kind of look at this team from that standpoint. Are they going to be contenders? I don't really think so. I think this team is in a desperate need to shake up this roster in a big way, and I don't feel that they're necessarily built to win right now. A couple of nice players on this team, don't get me wrong, but when I look at the New York Knicks, I feel that this organization is, they had that little taste of success from the prior year, and then they kind of fell a little bit flat on their faces here. However, there's definitely some room for optimism. They own the Mavericks first round pick. So when you look at the New York Knicks, there's still chances here for them to kind of right the wrongs of last offseason and really get back to where they need to be. I think Julius Randle's going to be better next season. I definitely believe that he's going to take another, step back to hopefully a little closer to what he was, the prior season. So New York Knicks are a team that you could definitely consider as a team that, very well could be in that conversation of trying to land another star, and, whatever role players they have to move out and assets they have to, move out. I think they're going to be willing to, this is an organization that, wants to get back to having a lot of success, and they haven't necessarily had it this past decade. However, they had a little taste of it last season. Now, the next team, Sacramento Kings, they kind of pushed their chips to, the front of the table here. When you look at the Sacramento Kings, they traded a very promising player in Tyrese Halliburton. Part of the reason is they felt that they needed a big to pair with De'Aaron Fox. Now, that didn't really go to plan. That did not go as well as they had hoped. There's still room for optimism here. I think when you look at the Sacramento Kings, this is a team that definitely is making some improvements here. Davion Mitchell was a terrific pick. They've been hitting on some of these picks. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton was a terrific selection in the draft. So, the drafting is starting to come along a little bit. And could this team blow it up? And I think it's very possible. I know a lot of people within the Sacramento Kings organization are growing a little impatient with the constant losing, and I don't blame them. I think that's why they felt compelled to make that deal for Sabonis, felt that would really move the needle. I do believe they need some more wing talent. They definitely have another year of Harrison Barnes as well, that they can try to make a push for that play-in spot, which is really nice about the current NBA. If you're a team that's kind of middling here a little bit, you always have a chance with that play-in if you can just finish competitive enough. And the Sacramento Kings could do that. However, I think that they might blow it up. I think there's a lot of different guys that they could potentially look to package. They had given Rashawn Holmes an extension last offseason. Very possible that he gets dealt. A couple of different role players that they could potentially move to go ahead and make this a more competent roster. I feel like with the growing frustrations within the organization, it's very possible that the Sacramento Kings blow this thing up and they try to start fresh. De'Aaron Fox, is he that true franchise player? Now, I don't know if this is the guy that's really going to be consistently good enough to get you to that postseason. You got to have a lot of different pieces around him, which the Sacramento Kings have quite frankly failed to do to this point. Now, it's not to say that they can't, but they have to definitely make some big strides in improvement this offseason. If you're a Kings fan, hopefully your hopes aren't too high right now. With the Sabonis deal, I think a lot of people were excited, but obviously Tyrese Halliburton is going to have a really nice career. And, Sabonis will be a very competitive player. He's going to be a really, really good player. However, I don't think him and De'Aaron Fox are enough in this Western Conference to really make some noise themselves. They're going to have to acquire another star into the mix to make this work. Now, finally, we got the LA Lakers, and 33-49 was their record. Fell completely short of expectations. That's been well documented through the major media. And I look at it from the standpoint of, okay, there's all this pressure on this organization. They're always great. They always get the stars. The last couple of years with LeBron, it's been up and down for sure. Obviously, winning a championship was huge. And then now they just are really, really disappointed with the results here. They thought bring in Russell Westbrook, add some more star power to this team. Thought, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and LeBron would be enough to really makes things happen. But, a lot of things did not go right for the Lakers this year. They have one of the oldest rosters in the entire league. A lot of the role players that they thought would work with this team, they quite frankly just didn't have enough spacing. I think they're prepared to somewhat blow this up, if I'm going to be completely honest. Looking at Russell Westbrook, I think that he will be traded. I kind of curious to see what the compensation. They're going to probably have to attach a first round pick. And I know that they've said over time and time again, we are not attaching a first round pick in a trade for Russell Westbrook. So I guess it really depends on, what's the league value? Where does the league value Russell Westbrook at this point in his career? A lot of his game is predicated on athleticism. And as he continues to get older, the value and the allure of a guy like Russell Westbrook in his game is not, super conducive for today's NBA, especially as you are an older player. Looking at Russell Westbrook, I think that he is going to be for sure a guy that's dealt. And there's a lot of guys on expiring contracts, Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington, Malik Monk, to name just a couple of them that, it didn't necessarily work out. I'm kind of curious to see what they decide to do with Talen Horton-Tucker. A lot of times that his name has been thrown in trade discussions as one of the major pieces in terms of, landing another really good player. And who's to say that that can't happen? I think Talen Horton-Tucker will very likely be dealt. I have a good feeling this offseason. I think they've dangled him enough around deadline time. And I think now that it's coming to the offseason, there's a lot of expectations once again with this organization. And I don't think that people should be surprised by this. I mean, you have LeBron still, you have Anthony Davis, and the expectations will continue to be high. Russell Westbrook likely is not going to be a part of this future. I just don't think the spacing of this works. I don't think that, the personalities all mesh perfectly. I think that's, once again, pretty clear and obvious. They tried the Russell Westbrook thing. I just don't see it being a likely outcome that he ends up staying at this point in time. So these are the teams that I think are going to blow it up. Let me know in the comment section below if I missed any team. Also, give me your thoughts on the current teams that I listed, and if you think these are realistic blow up opportunities. Going into the off season. It was a lot of fun to record this. Thanks again, guys, for stopping by. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Also, leave a like on today's video if you do enjoy the content. Once again, can't wait to see you in the very next one.